Welcome to the Restructuring series with me, Luke Venner, and Jack Callow. Good morning, Jack.
Good morning, Luke.
Are we well?
Very well indeed. How are you?
Very good, thank you. So we're talking about distressed mergers and acquisitions today, aren't we?
Indeed.
First of all, when can that actually be used, and what does it sort of look like?
Well, in the introductory video we did to this series, we talked a little bit about that question. When the honest question to yourself is, where is my business at compared to where I'd like it to be at? Mm-hmm. And if you ask that question honestly, you answer it honestly, react honestly, what you may find in a situation where you are in distress or you are facing financial challenges is that parts of the business are not performing the way that you would like them to. Again, it could be for a whole variety of reasons, but the important thing is to identify which parts of the business have value and which parts of the business don't.
Yep.
And once you have established that, it's very much about preserving that value versus dealing with the bit that's dragging the business down, in effect. And it can reach a scenario where you actually need to take that value out, or you need to get rid of the bit that's dragging it down. So this video is about going to look at what do we do and how do we achieve that.
Okay. So in terms of when, it's when we've got a business that has got, well, it might be overall, it might be performing well, but it might have a part of the business that's causing problems, or I guess it could be a business globally that has a future, but there might be some long-standing debt. That's causing it a bit of a problem.
There's a wide range on the spectrum, if you will, of where your business might fit. You might be doing very, very well, but you might have bits of the business that are causing you grief and just producing poor results as a result. Or it could be that the whole business is in real jeopardy and actually only small bits of it have got value. But it's identifying and understanding that there is bits of value in the business and it's protecting that.
Okay, so that's the when. So how does distressed M&A, as we call it, how does that sort of work?
Yeah, so once you've identified the situation, as it were, we've got a problem, we know there's value to protect. It's how we deal with, and it's how we preserve that value. So we could go, into a process, a restructuring process. You've got administrations. I'm sure people watching this video would have heard of pre-packs. You've got liquidations. You've got tools that, in effect, allow you to extract the value of the business and put it into company over here, NewCo, or in some other different structure. And what is left behind is the bit that doesn't work and the liabilities that are not serviceable through by keeping the value, the business with value.
Existing sort of company,
going. So that is one solution. That's obviously quite an extreme solution. The step before that is actually, can we do something without going into a process? Because that might mean that actually the company gets bought and it's
as a going concern.
As a going concern, but probably for very small value. Might even be for £1, as the scenario goes. And that way, obviously, it's a slightly better outcome because the purchaser will have to deal with the legacy debts and liabilities in the business. But they're obviously taking on a huge amount of risk because they're taking a business that works in areas and doesn't work in other areas, and they will then use their restructuring expertise to bring it back to where the position needs to be. But the key is that if you've got value in your business, it is always going to be the best outcome of any scenario if you can find a way to keep that bit going. And you can use restructuring advice and restructuring expertise are there designed to help guide you to the best process for your outcome, whether that be a restructuring process, an admin or liquidation, or actually being able to do something before you get to those extremes. Okay.
So in short, it's either selling the existing company without an insolvency process, selling the shares to new shareholders so they can run it, they can put their own processes in place to try and improve things, or take advantage of what value's already in the business. Or it might be that you're looking at an acquisition through an insolvency process like a pre-pack.
Yeah.
Mergers is the other side of this. When two businesses come together effectively, how does that sort of compare with acquisition?
I think just going back to the all-encompassing point, what you'll find is purchasers and sellers may have different views on how the deal should be structured. I think that's really important, where professional advice can assist. You don't want to end up with a scenario where you take out value from a business, but you haven't really come up with a plan for what's left behind. That's where advice is really, really valuable. Mergers is simply, again, there's a definition in the name. It's where two business units or two companies or two different business entities come together to ideally take advantage of value in doing that. You obviously wouldn't do it if there wasn't any what we call synergy to it. But again, we need to understand what the implications of doing that are, both in terms of bringing them together and again, if there is anything left behind, what's left behind. So it's about achieving the best outcome. That we've been put into a position because of a challenge. We've been put into a position because of a problem. We know there's value to protect, and it's identifying how best to do that and making sure that everything else is mopped up outside.
Sure. So I think that answers the why, what it's all about, preserving a business, isn't it? I guess the key thing, in terms of what input can advisors bring, it's around the structure of any deal. It's around helping that new business going forward, but it's also about going out to the market and being able to talk to potential acquirers, investors. You might have venture capitalists, for example, that sort of thing. And it's about opening up opportunities.
It's a negotiation as well, and it's there's a really crucial point around value. It's about identifying value, but then getting the maximum value for it. So we've got to be very careful if you ask yourself the question as the business owner, well, I'd be quite interested in taking this on in its new form. That doesn't give you priority or preference over price to be paid. We need to make sure it's competitive. We need to make sure we market the business properly. We need to explore all avenues to make sure, because usually somebody's going to lose out if we're in a distressed and a restructuring position. So we need to make sure that we obtain maximum value for those individuals. The crucial point around mergers and acquisitions and preserving value for me is, if you can accept that failure will always happen. In the business world, and we don't want it to happen to us, obviously. But and in hindsight, it's a wonderful thing. I wish I'd done that better. There will always be business failure, and once you accept that position, you can almost look at the glass a little bit like half full. Okay, yes, I might have done that better, but we're here because of X, Y, Z. How can we maximise the position going forward? How can we make a success of what we're now in? Because value coming out of a business and into a new form will preserve jobs. You've got supply chains to think of. You've got customers. The local economy will benefit.
Personal guarantees.
It's such a huge tool that we have available to us, both as business owners and as advisors. It's that early advice piece again, isn't it? It's asking that question: where is my business compared to where I want it to be, and getting those those risks on the radar. But it's an incredibly valuable tool that's usually in everyone's best interest if it can be executed.
I think that final point is important, because it's not just about keeping a business going and keeping jobs. It's also about protecting other stakeholders, isn't it? It's about looking at it all in the round. And the other thing, just to mention quickly, is flipping the coin over a little bit, is we're talking about selling businesses, but actually there's an opportunity for people who might want to invest in companies and invest in distressed businesses. They might be able to pick up a business on the cheap. To be frank, they can get a good deal, but then they can bring stuff to the table that enables the business to trade well. So it can work very well from the point of view of directors wanting to sell a business or a company, but it can also be an investment opportunity.
It's about linking expertise and capital to where it's needed most. It's not just about picking things up at a fire sale. If somebody has capital to put in and has expertise to turn things around, we're now back into a turnaround scenario, and it's about getting that business back to where it needs to be. It might just need to be in a new structure. Sure.
Good. Okay. Thank you, Jack. Really interesting stuff. And I think, if I can sum it up, it's about, you've got a company or a business that's got a future, but it's got problems. It's about, the distressed M&A is all about trying to salvage the business, to protect the business, and also, protect the stakeholders who've got interest in the company as well. So, excellent. Thank you very much, and thank you for watching.